Hi, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Allison Owen. I'm an associate fellow at the Royal United Services Institute. With me today is Chandana Seshadri. We decided to make things extra complicated, so she will be presenting for the latter half of this presentation. Chandana is a research analyst at the Royal United Services Institute for the Center for Finance and Security. She primarily focuses on the counterproliferation finance side, but as mentioned, more so looking at the proliferation finance exposure for the designated non-financial businesses and professions. So just to kind of give a brief overview, to add to what the Center for Finance and Security does at RUSI, the center focuses on analysis and actionable ideas aimed to challenge the status quo and build resilience in the global response to illicit finance. As part of this, Chandana and I support counterproliferation finance workshops. And with that, I really want to give you a concept of where our interest really sparked with this convergence of crypto use in the casino and gaming sector. So over the past few years, Chandana and I have gone to a number of jurisdictions, Chandana 12, myself 25 jurisdictions, looking at counterproliferation finance, speaking with people from the public and private sector, trying to understand this. Along with that, over the past few years, with the mentions that we heard from the public and private sector of crypto being used in the casino and gaming sector, we also had evidence come out from the UN panel of experts. So things like in the 2023 report from the United Nations panel of experts, things like an individual tied to the Reconnaissance General Bureau, an intelligence officer specifically operating casinos and a number of other businesses in a Southeast Asian country. So that individual, as reported by the UN panel, left the country in 2020, but there were still mentions by a member state that he had associates that were continuing business within that jurisdiction. So we saw these things, we heard about these things, and we started thinking, is there something here that we're missing? We have a lot of people focusing on how North Korea is actually hacking cryptocurrency companies, what the laundering procedure looks like, but how are they cashing out? How does the cryptocurrency industry fit into the broader sense of these underground financial systems? So Chandana and I started thinking about this, and today we'll try and focus on this cryptocurrency component. Again, we focused primarily on the gaming and casino and gaming sector, but this will be crypto focused primarily for the next 20 minutes. So first, we want to point out that in January 2024, this year, the UNODC came out with this phenomenal report looking at how cryptocurrency fits into these enterprises, junket enterprises. I want to bring up one specific point from their report of Telegram channels linked to these junket enterprises that do have a license, reporting that there are cryptocurrency components within their financial system. So within their business models, they were releasing information on Telegram channels stating that customers could in fact use cryptocurrency. For those of you who are not aware of what junket enterprises are, I want to kind of take a step back, and I would say that OzTrack did a really good job discussing what junket enterprises are, so I want to pull from that. I was told that there's a bit of a delay for this slide, so I'm not going to be overwhelming with the clicker. There we go. So according to OzTrack, junket enterprises consist of operators, subjunkets, and collaborators. For operators, they're often referred to as junket promoters. They'll have a contractual relationship with the casino operator. Subjunkets fall underneath operators. Sometimes they will be about 2 to 3 people that are working with these larger junkets that already have established relationships with casinos. And underneath subjunkets, we have collaborators who will actually go out and find high rollers to pull into these VIP rooms. So they might be on the casino floor looking for high rollers, or they might be pulling high rollers from other jurisdictions to bring into the VIP room. So we have this area, this piece of the puzzle in the casino and gaming sector that is typically not given appropriate attention. There's a lot of a lack of oversight within these financial transactions already, and all of a sudden we have the cryptocurrency component within that. So stick with me, please. I know that I'm kind of going off, but I want to pull all of this together underneath the proliferation finance umbrella. Because with North Korea, we know that they specifically have exploited the casino and gaming sector in the past. And I want to kind of jump back to a case that everyone in this room is probably aware of, the Bangladesh bank hack that occurred in 2016. I'm not going to go into detail about this hack. I'm sure that you've heard about it many times before, but I really want to point out the fact that this hack, which was carried out by North Korean cyber criminals, we know that for a fact, these funds eventually ended up moving through a junket operator. Now, with this, we've talked to many experts. We found that a large limitation with this research was no one actually knows when these funds left the hands of North Korean cyber criminals and were passed on to the organized crime groups. So the individual who operated the junket, who is allegedly tied to an organized crime group, somehow received the funds from the North Korean cyber criminals and laundered them through this process. So we know three things. We know that North Korean cyber criminals in the past have used junkets to move money. We know that now junket enterprises are using cryptocurrency to some extent, to some degree. We know that there's a lack of oversight. We know that when we talk to representatives from the public sector, often people are very hesitant to say there's any involvement of cryptocurrency in this process. So we started thinking, what do we need to do with this? What are the main concerns? The other point I really want to bring up, although it, again, is just kind of for context, is in a 2022 report by the United Nations panel of experts, they also noted that the individuals behind the Bangladesh bank heist, Blue North, are now fully focusing on cyber or cryptocurrency companies. So we know that there's a change in focus here. Now, shifting gears slightly with the organized crime component, I'm trying to sanitize this a bit. I would be happy to speak in detail about this offline a little bit later. But some of these individuals that are tied to the Bangladesh bank heist, who are alleged individuals part of this factionalized organized crime group, also have some degree of involvement in the cryptocurrency side. So we know, for instance, one individual who is an alleged member of this factionalized organized crime group has supported initial coin offerings. So for instance, the HB token, sorry, I get a little passionate. The HB token was supported by this individual. And just to give you the specific facts, it raised $750 million US with 450 million HB tokens sold at events in Cambodia, Thailand, and the Philippines. So this is something that we need to think about. These connections of how there's a possible degree of North Korea being able to exploit this to cash out cryptocurrency and exchange it to fiat currency. We need to think about how the cryptocurrency industry fits into this bigger picture of underground financial models. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Chandana to provide information on the rest of the threats.
Thanks, Allison. As she just spoke about the threat moving into the underground financial networks, the next threat that we identified was the convergence of the use of cryptocurrency as a vehicle to move funds into these underground financial networks. So in May 2024, for example, the Public Security Bureau of the Hanxi city in China identified an underground bank that provided cryptocurrency conversion services for its customers. So these operations was highlighted similar to an over-the-counter cryptocurrency trading platform and involved around $296 million. And this was it included the use of domestic accounts to exchange in foreign exchange businesses. And as written on this screen here, customers that were using this process included, for example, the Korean purchasing agents, e-commerce firms, import-export companies, etc. Another case that we identified, which was open source information again, is an activity similar to this happening in Canada. In 2020, there was an alleged underground casino operation in Ontario where there was potential involvement of cryptocurrency. The police stated that the casino had around 20,000 Canadian dollars per hand for baccarat game and betting limits of this game, and showed signs the operation of cryptocurrency and including cash. So, but the charges against the suspect were later dropped for more information about the case. And this was due to questions that were raised around possible misappropriation by the police, etc. But nonetheless, these kind of activities were again seen in Canada. If it's possible to move to the next slide. Yeah, thanks. One final point on the threats that we also identified, which is not a direct or a lesser degree linkage to proliferation financing, is the misuse of deposit accounts in casinos, specifically by illicit actors. This threat is not new, and by no means it's been referenced in the Financial Action Task Force has addressed these. Like, for example, a South China Morning Post article covered the JPEG scandal that noted that police arrested 2 individuals behind operating a over-the-counter cryptocurrency trading service, and they froze this approximately 8.2 million Hong Kong dollars worth in casino accounts, which was used by these traders. Why we chose this particular case study is this emphasizes how criminal actors are exploiting the cryptocurrency industry and integrating it into this underground financial channels. So this is just a big overview of all the threats that we have identified during our research in the context of cryptocurrency. But I must also mention there are much more threats that could arise, and there is potential for these to arise. But more resources need to be put into understanding how cryptocurrency and underground banking channels are integrated and providing new avenues for exploitation. We wanted to share this with all the attendees today with the hope of basically gathering attention and encourage further investigation. We at CFS also continue to hope to do this kind of research and welcome any collaboration with anyone who is interested in exploring these kind of emerging threats. As a result, attention needs to be put into understanding these gaps. There are jurisdictions that are doing a phenomenal job releasing guidance, for example, on due diligence and monitoring of these underground, under-regulated areas with the casino and the gaming sector. Cryptocurrency transactions through junkets, as Allison initially talked about, through junket enterprises may be more along handling on hardware device and private key information and receiving cash to gamble with in return. So there are many aspects to this. Nonetheless, a partnership between government and private sector can aid in extending resources and ensuring that these gaps are monitored for any kind of illicit activity. So next slide, please. So as a result of this, we want to now give a few pointers as to how can jurisdictions actually can respond. Next slide, please. As everyone hopefully knows in the room by now that cryptocurrency is traceable, a partnership between blockchain analytical companies and law enforcement can go a long way and can and should be formed to put resources into understanding this alteration of the underground financial system and the integration of cryptocurrency. Next, we want to give special attention to the Isle of Man, for example, due to their approach towards cryptocurrency and gambling. According to a Moneyval report, the Gambling Supervision Commission of the Isle of Man has an additional licensing category or condition for any license holder that uses cryptocurrency. So this is basically to ensure that compliance standards are met. The license holder may only permit certain permitted models of cryptocurrencies for use. When business models includes cryptocurrency, more attention is paid to ensuring that there is not just robust technology, but also the firm understands financial crime risks and it also aligns with the model. So the Isle of Man's approach includes also on-site inspections of such entities to determine frequency and also the types of visits. This risk-based approach includes cryptocurrency as a risk factor. So this information is then checked with jurisdictions, their own policy requirements and licensing conditions and guidance, etc. And the last point that we wanted to address is that of international organization, such as the Financial Action Task Force. They should release updated guidance on the casino and the gaming sector that accounts for online casinos and sports betting platforms. Much of the 2009 vulnerabilities guidance report that came out still applies today. However, there is a need for jurisdictions to have guidance on the threats that around these emerging avenues that we have just talked about now. Even though this is quite limited, there are much more emerging avenues that could arise. At this point, I'll pass on the floor back to Allison.
I know that this is a lot of information that we're throwing at you, but what we really want to achieve from this is we want to make sure that people are aware of this happening, that there is going to be this proliferation finance concern. And Chandana and I are by no means investigators. We're on the policy side. But if we can get people to reach out to us, we can maybe come together and put the resources into this that we need to put in to make sure that this concern is not a concern in the future. So with that, I'll pause for questions. I did see one question that I think maybe is worth answering. I mean, all of them are worth answering, but one I really want to answer, if I can go ahead. So I'll address, is this a problem of policy/law or a law enforcement? And is Chandana still on the screen? Maybe Chandana could answer after me. So I would just say, based on our experience going and traveling and working with the public and private sector, this is just often not on their minds. There are some phenomenal jurisdictions out there who are putting attention on this. So we know that OzTrack and PACOR have released fantastic guidance on junkets, but it's just a matter of putting more emphasis on how does the cryptocurrency component fit in. Along with that, we really hope that whether it's the Financial Action Task Force or another international organization, that there can be resources put into updated guidance for the casino and gaming sector. The last one that we were able to find for our research was from 2009, and it did not address online casinos. So there is this emerging ecosystem that we need to put resources into to look and identify these emerging threats. So Chandana, do you want to add to that?
I just have one point to add. When we are speaking a lot about cryptocurrency integration into the casino sector and a jurisdiction's knowledge or understanding of the risk, but there are so many other jurisdictions that haven't really looked into, in general, the risk that comes from the casino and gaming sector, let alone the cryptocurrency integration. So it's not really the law enforcement side or the policy side of things. I think both of them have to go hand in hand, and it comes, we know that the threat is there, but it's more that jurisdictions need to basically understand the threat, which is particularly lacking. And this is not just law enforcement, but also on the regulator side, also on the policy side of things. So it's a machine that needs to work together in that aspect if this threat can actually be addressed. I have nothing else to add.
With that, we'll end here. Yeah, thank you so much.
We have to say thank you to you, Allison and Chandana,